So the whole Arabic, Muslim, Islamic world is sort of behind the Palestinians, behind Gaza, and supports them. Why are they not helping them? Why are they not taking in the Palestinian refugees? I don't understand it. I don't understand why they can't send humanitarian aid, and I'm sure they have in limited capacity. But why don't they take in the 2 million refugees into their own country?
Because they're Palestinians, and that's their land. They don't want to leave. As a German, you don't want to leave Germany and move into Poland.
Yeah, but I mean,
or move into Czech.
No, well, but that's de facto what happened after the World War. You know, like the frontiers. I don't know. Countries get new. How do you say Grenzen?
Borders.
Borders. Thank you. Countries have new borders. And then people get displaced. And I'm not saying this is a nice thing that happens, right? That's not what I'm saying. But how?
But you're saying it's acceptable.
No, I'm not saying it's acceptable. I'm just saying that the Palestinians are still considered refugees after being there for 70 years. Why are they still considered refugees? It's not like in Germany or after all the displacement happened after the Second World War.
Because this is their land. In fact, they want their land back. That's what Hamas is all about. If you go back to 1900, there are hardly any Jews in what is today Greater Israel.
Okay, so, and this is why I'm probably so agnostic.
And the Zionists came in and they took the land.
But that's not exactly what happened, is it? I mean, there was like a declaration, there was something going on with the Brits, right? That gave the Israelis the land, or the Jews.
You think the British had the right to give the Palestinians land?
No, that's not what I'm saying. And this is why I'm so agnostic on this issue, because I am not very sure about certain historical facts. And I'm just like, this whole mess down there just seems to me like this black box of, I don't know, of unfortunate historic events. Because I don't want the Jews all of a sudden to not have a country either. Is that understandable?
I fully understand why the Israelis want their own country, right? But you want to understand that this land, not too long ago, belonged to the Palestinians. But
these things happen all the time in history, John.
You can't make that. Of
but
course
they do. People get displaced, and I'm not saying it's fair, but don't. At some point, you kind of, just like with Ukraine, at some point they're going to have to accept what is. And it's the same in Israel. I'm sorry. I don't think it's that different.
They're not going to accept it. That's quite clear.
Exactly. But I'm saying that's
why the Israelis want to drive them out.
Yes, but you can choose unfair peace, or you can fight for fairness of the land. I mean, you could choose whichever you want. But sometimes unfair peace is probably better.
If you were a Palestinian living in Gaza and you were young, you would have joined Hamas in all likelihood.
I understand.
You would have rebelled.
Listen, John,
And if your family owned property that was now part of Israel, you would want that property back. You would view it as your property, right?
After decades and decades?
Yes, exactly.
Germany doesn't want territory back in Poland or in Czech.
Many Jews argue that Israel has a deed to the territory that it now controls.
Yes, a biblical deed, right?
Which is the Bible.
It's a little ridiculous. I do understand that. I totally understand it, but I'm talking about like the situation we have right now. So what are we going to do with what we have right now? And sometimes things are unfair, John. It's just how it goes. Do we want this fighting to continue forever? Because this is what I'm thinking.
I want to be very clear here. The United States believed for a long time that it had a solution, and many American leaders still believe there is a solution. It's the two-state solution. In other words, divide the land, divide Greater Israel, give the Palestinians a viable state of their own. This is
not a viable solution. You've said so yourself. This is not going to happen.
That's right. But why is it not a viable solution?
Well, probably because Israelis don't want to give them their land.
That's
right?
correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
I recognize that.
Well, if they don't give them their land, you can then expect the Palestinians to fight back.
Okay, I understand this, and I totally understand. I understand that when you're a young person in Gaza and you've seen your family be killed by an IDF attack or what, I understand it completely. I just wonder for how long do we want to continue this conflict?
Whose way?
Well, I mean, it's not only,
It's for how long do the Palestinians want to continue to resist? And for how long do the Israelis want to continue?
Well, it's not just between Israel and the Palestinians, is it? There's obviously a global community that is involved.
The global community is largely ineffectual because of the United States. You pointed out that Steve Walt and I wrote this book. The United States basically supports Israel.
But that's why I'm saying there's other countries involved. It's not just Israel and the resistance in Gaza.
Yeah, but the country that's involved that matters is the United States, and it's joined at the hip with Israel. It does basically what Israel wants. We wanted a two-state solution. It's just very important to understand that. Every president from Jimmy Carter forward was deeply committed to creating a two-state solution. We could not get a two-state solution because Israel had little interest, and the lobby went to great lengths to undermine the pressure that any American president put on Israel to move to a two-state solution. You ended up with an apartheid state. And when you have an apartheid state where you have, roughly an equal number of Palestinians and Israeli Jews living inside it, the dominated group is going to revolt. And there are other centrifugal forces at play inside the country as well. So this is a country that's in real trouble. And again, American presidents wanted to help solve this problem a long time ago by moving to a two-state solution. But the Israelis thought that they could beat the Palestinians into submission or keep them under control. And they were wrong.
This has been an interesting discussion. I think that I'll probably keep I won't keep my agnostic view on Israel and Gaza because I do understand that what's happening is unfair. It's not just, right? Like you can't just go about killing tens of thousands.
The genocide is more than unfair.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, genocide is a red line. And, as soon as I see...
I think I have trouble using that word, to be honest. And maybe it's because I'm in Germany and I'm afraid to say something like that,
You would get in trouble in Germany.
I guess I am a little bit afraid.
Germany has basically abandoned free speech on this issue. In fact, I bet
on a lot of issues, but yeah, especially concerning Israel and all of that stuff, I just get really I kind of freeze up and I'm like, I don't even know what can I compare, because you've used the word concentration camp, you've used the word genocide, and I'm like, I get a little...
And apartheid.
Yeah, and you use these words, and I'm like, I am a little afraid to even use these words because, you can get in trouble comparing things and...
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But that's the power of the lobby, right? See, the lobby goes to great lengths to control the discourse.